The first time Officer Elena Vasquez reviewed the footage from her body cam that night, she watched it 3 times in a row without blinking. Not because she couldn't believe what she was seeing, but because she could, and that terrified her more than anything else. It was supposed to be nothing, a broken taillight on Sterling Avenue at 11:47 p.m., the kind of stop she'd done 1,000 times before. Pull them over, run the plates, check for warrants, maybe write a ticket, send them on their way. 10 minutes, tops. But somewhere between the moment Marcus Chen stepped out of that Honda Civic with his hands visible and the moment 12 officers stood in a circle around his prone body, everything Elena thought she knew about the job, about her brothers and sisters in blue, about the oath she'd sworn, shattered like glass under a boot heel. The thing is, Marcus wasn't resisting. That's what the footage showed so clearly. It made her stomach turn. He wasn't reaching for anything, wasn't shouting, wasn't even moving fast. He was compliant, polite, even. She could hear it in his voice on the playback. That careful tone people use when they're trying very hard not to give anyone an excuse. Yes, officer, no, officer. My license is in my wallet, may I reach for it? She'd said yes, of course she'd said yes. And then everything went wrong in ways she never saw coming. Elena had been with the Riverside Police Department for 6 years. Not the greenest rookie anymore, but not one of the old guard either. She existed in that middle space where you're competent enough to work alone but not senior enough that anyone asks your opinion on policy. She liked it that way. Kept her head down, did her job, went home to her apartment and her cat and her true crime podcasts. She'd joined the force because her father had been a cop, and his father before him. It was supposed to mean something, supposed to be about protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. That night started like any other. She'd clocked in at 6 p.m., checked her gear, tested her body cam. She always tested it twice because she'd seen what happened to officers who claimed their cameras malfunctioned at convenient moments. She partnered with Officer Derek Mills for the shift, a guy with 14 years on the job and a reputation for being by the book. They'd grabbed coffee, responded to a noise complaint, took a report on a stolen bicycle. Normal, boring. Safe. Sterling Avenue was quiet when she spotted the Honda. One taillight out, driver signaling properly, obeying the speed limit textbook stop. She radioed it in, license plate, location, reason for the stop, and hit her lights. The car pulled over immediately. No hesitation, no evasive maneuvers. Just a normal person responding exactly the way you'd hope. "I'll take lead," she told Derek, and he nodded, staying back by the patrol car to run the plates. She approached the driver's side, flashlight in hand, and that's when her body cam captured the first clear shot of Marcus Chen. 28 years old, though she wouldn't learn that until later. Software engineer engaged, planning a wedding for next spring. He was wearing a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, glasses that reflected her flashlight beam, and an expression of mild concern that anyone would have when getting pulled over. "Good evening, sir. The reason I stopped you is your right taillight is out. Can I see your license and registration?" "Yes, officer." That voice she'd replay it dozens of times later, listening for any hint of aggression, any justification for what came next. There was none. "My license is in my wallet in my back pocket. My registration is in the glove compartment. May I reach for them?" "Go ahead slowly, please." He moved like he was underwater. Deliberately, carefully pulled out his wallet with 2 fingers, extracted his license, handed it to her through the window, then reached across to the glove compartment, opened it, retrieved the registration. No sudden movements, no hidden weapons, nothing. She was walking back to the patrol car to run his information when Derek's voice crackled over the radio. 7 Adam 4, we've got probable cause. Occupant has 3 outstanding warrants, all units. We need backup for a felony stop. Elena froze. 3 warrants? She looked back at Marcus, who was sitting perfectly still in his car, hands visible on the steering wheel. Something felt wrong. She'd run enough plates to know that 3 felony warrants usually meant someone with a history, someone who didn't pull over politely for a broken taillight. "Copy that," she said into her radio, but her voice carried a question she didn't quite voice. Within 90 seconds, 4 more patrol cars arrived, then 5. Then 6 officers she recognized: Martinez, Thompson, Kowalski, Reed, Santos, Chen no relation, Williams, Diaz, Foster, Murphy, and finally Sergeant Bradley himself. 12 officers total for 1 traffic stop. The street lit up like a Christmas display, red and blue lights bouncing off houses where curtains twitched and faces appeared in windows. This was when Elena's body cam captured what would later be called Sequence 1, the approach. Marcus was ordered out of the vehicle over the PA system. He complied immediately, hands up, moving slowly. He was told to walk backward toward the officers. He did. He was told to get on his knees. He did. Face down on the pavement, arms spread, every instruction followed without hesitation. And then Sergeant Bradley's voice, sharp and commanding, "Cuff him! Search the vehicle!" Elena moved forward with Officer Martinez. She could see Marcus's face pressed against the asphalt, turned to the side, eyes wide, not defiant, scared. She'd seen that look before, and it always made her uncomfortable because it reminded her that the person on the ground was someone's son, someone's brother, someone's whole world. Martinez pulled Marcus's arms behind his back with more force than necessary. The body cam captured the sound, a grunt of pain, quickly suppressed. The handcuffs clicked into place, and Elena noticed Martinez tightening them until the metal bit into skin. "That's too tight," she said quietly. Martinez didn't respond. That's when things accelerated in a way that still doesn't make sense to her, even after watching the footage 40, 50, maybe 100 times. Officer Thompson and Officer Reed went to search the vehicle. Standard procedure. Except Elena's body cam, positioned where it could see both Marcus on the ground and the officers at the car, captured something that made her blood run cold when she reviewed it later. Thompson reached into his own pocket, pulled something out, looked around, not at the car but at the other officers, making eye contact with Sergeant Bradley. A nod passed between them, and then Thompson leaned into the Honda's passenger seat and emerged 30 seconds later holding a clear plastic bag. "We've got crystal meth," Thompson announced loudly. "Significant quantity. This is a possession with intent to distribute." The other officers reacted with immediate aggression. Marcus was hauled to his feet, slammed against the patrol car. Elena heard herself saying something. She couldn't remember what exactly, but her body cam picked it up. "Wait, I didn't see that in the initial visual check." No one acknowledged her. What happened next was captured in excruciating detail because Elena's camera was positioned perfectly, almost accidentally, to record everything. Officer Williams struck Marcus in the ribs just once, but hard enough that Marcus doubled over. Then Officer Diaz grabbed his head and slammed it against the hood of the patrol car. Santos and Foster moved in, their hands becoming weapons, strikes landing on Marcus's back, his legs, his shoulders. Elena heard her own voice on the recording, rising in pitch. "Stop, he's not resisting, he's cuffed." But they didn't stop. It was like watching a feeding frenzy, except instead of sharks, it was 12 sworn officers of the law. Marcus wasn't fighting back, couldn't fight back, was trying to curl into himself, protect his head, while handcuffed hands prevented any real defense. She stepped forward, put her hand on Martinez's shoulder. "Stand down. This is excessive." Martinez shrugged her off. He was resisting. No, he wasn't. "I have it on camera." That's when Sergeant Bradley turned to her. She'd known Bradley for 4 years, thought he was a good cop, tough but fair. The kind of supervisor who'd back you up when you needed it. But the look he gave her in that moment was something else entirely cold. Calculating, threatening. "Turn off your camera, Vasquez." "Sir, I can't do that." "Department policy." "Turn off your camera." She didn't, and in that split second of defiance, she saw something flicker across Bradley's face. Not anger. Something worse, recognition that she'd just become a problem. The beating continued for another 43 seconds, according to the timestamp. 43 seconds that would end 12 careers, topple a department, and ignite a national conversation about police accountability. But in that moment, standing on Sterling Avenue with her hand hovering near her weapon, because she genuinely didn't know if she was going to have to protect a civilian from her own colleagues, Elena just knew she'd crossed a line she could never uncross. When they finally stopped, Marcus was bleeding from his nose, his lip a cut above his eye. His shirt was torn. He was barely conscious. "Get him to the hospital," Bradley ordered. "DUI and possession with intent, resisted arrest." Standard report. Elena's mouth went dry. "He wasn't drunk. I didn't smell any alcohol when I made the stop." "You sure about that, Vasquez?" Bradley's tone carried a weight that had nothing to do with the question and everything to do with what she'd do with her answer. She looked at Marcus, now being loaded into an ambulance that had arrived with suspicious promptness, looked at the 12 officers standing around like nothing unusual had happened. looked at the houses with their twitching curtains and watching faces. "I need to file my report," she said carefully. "You do that," Bradley replied. "Make sure it's accurate." The threat was unmistakable. Elena and Derek drove back to the station in silence. He kept glancing at her, but she stared straight ahead, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles went white. Her Bodycam was still recording. It would record until she docked it at the station, uploading automatically to the department's digital evidence system. That was the policy. That was the protection. The footage couldn't be erased or edited once it hit the servers. At least that's what she'd been told. She clocked out at 2 a.m., went home, and sat on her couch in the dark for 3 hours. Didn't turn on the lights, didn't feed her cat. Just sat there, replaying everything in her mind, trying to find a way to make it make sense. Maybe she'd misunderstood. Maybe the drugs really were in the car. Maybe Marcus had been reaching for something she hadn't seen. Maybe 12 experienced officers had observed a threat her rookie instincts had missed. But she knew, deep in her gut, where truth lives before your brain can rationalize it away, she knew exactly what she'd witnessed. At 7 a.m., she logged into the department system to file her report. Her Bodycam footage should have been uploaded automatically, waiting to be reviewed and attached to the incident report. She pulled up the file directory for the previous night's recordings. Her footage wasn't there. She checked again, refreshed the page, searched by her badge number, by timestamp, by incident number. Nothing. According to the system, Officer Elena Vasquez's Bodycam had not recorded anything on Sterling Avenue at 11:47 p.m. But it had. She'd watched it herself before leaving the station. She'd seen the upload confirmation. Someone had deleted it. Elena sat frozen at her computer, staring at the empty file directory. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't a technical malfunction. Someone with system access had gone into the evidence database and erased her footage, which meant someone knew exactly what that footage showed, and that someone had the authority and the knowledge to make it disappear. Her phone rang blocked number. She almost didn't answer, but something, instinct, curiosity, or maybe just the desperate need to hear another human voice, made her pick up. "Officer Vasquez?" A woman's voice, professional. "Clipped, this is Inspector Rachel Kwan from Internal Affairs. I need you to come to my office immediately. Don't discuss this with anyone. Don't file your report. Don't talk to your partner or your sergeant. Come directly to the 4th floor, room 414, do you understand?" "How did you—" "Room 414. 30 minutes. The line went dead. Internal Affairs was where careers went to die. Every cop knew that. IA didn't call you in because they wanted to give you a commendation. They called you in because someone had filed a complaint, or because they were investigating your partner, or because they already had enough evidence to bury you and just wanted to see if you'd lie under oath." Elena had never been to the 4th floor, had never wanted to be. She drove to the station with her stomach in knots, parked in the visitor lot instead of the employee garage. Some superstitious instinct told her not to make it easy for them to box in her car, and took the elevator up. Room 414 was at the end of a long hallway that smelled like old coffee and anxiety. She knocked. "Come in." Inspector Rachel Kwan was younger than Elena expected, maybe 40, Asian American, wearing a gray suit that looked expensive and an expression that looked like it could cut glass. Her office was sparse. No personal photos, no decorations. Just a desk, 2 chairs, a computer, and a wall of filing cabinets that probably contained the documented failures of countless officers who'd thought they were untouchable. "Sit," Kwan said. It wasn't a request. Elena sat. Kwan studied her for a long moment. "Your Bodycam footage from last night." "Where is it?" "I don't know, I uploaded it per protocol, but when I checked this morning it was gone from the system." "Someone deleted it?" "That's what it looks like." "Who has that level of access?" Elena swallowed hard. "Sergeants and above. IT administrators, evidence custodians." "Anyone else?" "Not that I know of." Kwan nodded slowly, then opened a drawer and pulled out a small external hard drive. She connected it to her computer, clicked a few times, then turned the monitor so Elena could see. It was her Bodycam footage, every second of it, from the initial traffic stop through the planted drugs, the beating, Bradley's order to turn off her camera, everything. "How do you have that?" Elena whispered. "Because I've been investigating your department for 11 months, Kwan said flatly. "Specifically, I've been investigating Sergeant Bradley's shift. We've had 6 complaints in the past year, excessive force, planted evidence, falsified reports. But every time we tried to pursue it, the body cam footage mysteriously disappeared or malfunctioned. Every witness suddenly couldn't remember details. Every complainant dropped charges after receiving visits from off-duty officers. Your department has a systematic problem, Officer Vasquez, and last night you captured proof. Elena felt like she was falling even though she was sitting perfectly still. 6 complaints? Why didn't anyone? Because your chief is either incompetent or complicit. I'm still figuring out which. Quan leaned forward. I have a source in IT who's been secretly backing up all body cam footage before it can be deleted. That's how I have yours. But here's the problem. I can't use it officially yet. I don't have enough to prove the pattern. One incident, even one as damning as yours, can be explained away by defense attorneys. Isolated incident rogue officers. Lack of training, I need more. More what? More evidence, more witnesses. Someone from inside willing to testify about the culture, about the orders, about who's giving them and who's following them. Quan's eyes locked onto Elena's. I need you. I'm just a patrol officer I don't know anything about. You know everything. You've been on Bradley's shift for 3 years. You've responded to calls with these officers. You've heard the locker room talk, seen the little things that don't make it into reports. And now you've witnessed a clear case of assault and evidence tampering involving 12 officers. Quan pulled up a list on her screen. Derek Mills, Carlos Martinez, Jennifer Thompson, Michael Kowalski, Sarah Reed, Anthony Santos, David Chen, Lisa Williams, Marco Diaz, Patrick Foster, Kevin Murphy, and Sergeant Raymond Bradley. 12 careers, all on the line. They will protect each other. They will destroy you to save themselves, unless you help me destroy them first. Elena's hands were shaking. If I cooperate with IA, I'm finished. No one will work with me. I'll be labeled a rat. Every cop in every department in the state will know my name. If you don't cooperate, Marcus Chen, who is currently in the hospital with 3 broken ribs, a concussion, and a charge of felony drug possession that will ruin his life, is just the first victim. There will be more, and you'll be complicit in every single one because you had the power to stop it and chose not to. The words hit like physical blows because Quan was right. Elena knew she was right, but knowing something and being willing to act on it were 2 entirely different things. What do you want me to do? Wear a wire, go back to work. Act normal, listen. Record, document. Give me the evidence I need to take down not just these 12 officers, but everyone who's enabled them. Quan's expression softened slightly. I know what I'm asking. I know the cost, but someone has to be willing to pay it, or nothing ever changes. Elena left that office with a recording device, smaller than a quarter, taped between her shoulder blades, and a phone number she was supposed to call if anything went wrong. She felt like she was going to throw up. Felt like she'd just signed her own death warrant. But she also felt something else, a strange, terrifying sense of clarity. She'd become a cop to protect people, and right now, the people who needed protecting most were the ones being victimized by her own colleagues. She went back to work the next night like nothing had happened. Derek was already in the parking lot when she arrived. He approached her carefully like she was a bomb that might detonate. Hey, he said. About last night, it was intense, Elena said, keeping her voice neutral. The wire was recording. I've never seen a stop escalate like that. Yeah, well, Chen was resisting. You might not have seen it, but those guys have more experience. They know when someone's about to rabbit. He seemed pretty compliant to me. That's what they want you to think. Derek looked around, lowered his voice. Look, Vasquez, you're a good cop. But you're still learning. Sometimes things happen fast. Sometimes you have to trust your team. Even when your team is planting evidence. Derek's face went blank. What? I saw Thompson pull that bag out of his pocket before he found it in the car. The silence that followed felt like a held breath. Derek stared at her, and she could see the calculations happening behind his eyes. Was she a threat? Was she wired? Would she report him? You didn't see that, he finally said. My body cam did. Your body cam malfunctioned, I saw the report. Is that what we're calling it? Derek grabbed her arm, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to make his point. Listen to me very carefully. You did not see what you think you saw. You will not put that in any report. You will not mention it to IA or anyone else, because if you do, you won't just lose your job. You'll lose a lot more than that, do you understand me? Elena pulled her arm free. Are you threatening me? I'm trying to protect you. He looked genuinely pained. These guys, Bradley and his crew, they're connected. They have friends in the union, in City Hall, in places that matter. You go against them, you'll be crushed. I've seen it happen before. To who? Doesn't matter, they're not cops anymore. Because they told the truth? Because they were stupid enough to think the truth matters more than loyalty. Elena went through the motions of her shift, responded to calls, wrote reports, made small talk at the station. But every conversation felt like espionage. Every casual comment from another officer took on sinister meaning. When Officer Martinez asked if she wanted coffee, she wondered if it would be drugged. When Sergeant Bradley called her into his office for a routine check-in, she wondered if he somehow knew about the wire. "How are you doing, Vasquez?" Bradley asked, leaning back in his chair with the kind of casual authority that came from 20 years on the force. "Fine, sir. Last night was rough. First time seeing a suspect resist like that." She chose her words carefully, knowing Quan was listening to everything. He didn't seem like he was resisting to me. Bradley's smile didn't reach his eyes. "That's because you're inexperienced. You don't recognize the signs yet. The way they tense up before they run. The look in their eyes when they're deciding whether to fight Chen had all the indicators. He was handcuffed and on the ground. He was high on meth and unpredictable. We responded appropriately to the threat level." Bradley leaned forward. "But I'm concerned about your perception of the incident. When you file your report, it's important that you're accurate, that you represent what actually happened, not what you might have misunderstood in the moment." "Are you asking me to lie in my report?" "I'm asking you to be thorough, to consider all factors, to remember that you're part of a team, and teams support each other." There it was, the implicit threat wrapped in professional language: write what we tell you to write, or face consequences. "I'll be thorough," Elena said. "Good, because your career here depends on it." She left his office with her heart pounding so hard she thought surely someone could hear it. The wire had captured everything: Bradley's veiled threat, his admission that the report should support their version of events rather than objective reality. It wasn't enough yet. Quan had been clear about that, but it was building. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena collected evidence like a detective working her own department. She recorded conversations in the locker room where officers joked about tuning up suspects. She captured Martinez admitting that the drugs planted on Marcus Chen came from an evidence seizure 6 months earlier that had been lost in processing. She documented Thompson bragging about how many times they'd successfully made complaints disappear by intimidating witnesses. But the price of that evidence was her sanity. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, jumped at every sound. She'd cross paths with Bradley or Mills or any of the 12, and they'd smile at her like nothing was wrong, like they were all still brothers and sisters in blue, while she knew she was building the case that would end their careers. The breaking point came on day 16. She was in the women's locker room, changing before her shift, when Officer Sarah Reed walked in. Reed was one of the 12, a 9-year veteran with a reputation for being tough but fair. Elena had actually liked her before that night on Sterling Avenue. Reed sat down on the bench next to her. "We need to talk." Elena kept her expression neutral. The wire was always recording now. "About what?" "About your loyalty problem." "I don't have a loyalty problem." "Really? Because Bradley says you've been asking questions?" "Making people nervous. Acting like you're wearing a wire or something." Reed laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're not wearing a wire, are you, Vasquez?" Elena's blood turned to ice. She forced herself to meet Reed's eyes. "Why would I wear a wire?" "I don't know, why would you? Unless you think there's something to record. Unless you think your fellow officers are doing something wrong." Reed stood up, moved closer, invaded Elena's personal space in a way that was clearly meant to intimidate. "Let me tell you how this works. We're a family. We protect each other. Someone threatens the family protects itself. You understand?" "I understand that Marcus Chen is sitting in a jail cell right now with charges that could put him away for years, and he didn't do anything wrong." Reed's face hardened. "He had drugs in his car." "No, he had drugs planted in his car." "You need to be very careful about what you say next." "Or what? You'll beat me up like you beat him?" "Plant evidence on me too?" Reed's hand moved to her service weapon, not drawing it, just resting on it, a gesture. "A reminder of power. You're making a mistake." "No, I made a mistake when I stood by and watched 12 cops assault an innocent man. I'm not making that mistake again." "Then you're not one of us anymore." Reed walked out, and Elena sat there shaking, knowing that everything had just changed. They knew. Maybe not about the wire specifically, but they knew she wasn't going to fall in line, which meant she'd become a target. She called Quan from her car. "They're on to me. I need to come in." "Not yet." "We're close. I need one more piece." "They threatened me. Reed basically told me I'm going to have an accident if I don't shut up." A pause. "Okay. Come in, bring everything." Elena drove to the Internal Affairs building downtown, checking her rearview mirror constantly, half convinced she was being followed. She probably was. When she arrived, Quan was waiting with 2 federal agents, FBI, she learned, because the investigation had expanded beyond just the Riverside Police Department. The evidence Elena had collected implicated not just 12 officers, but a systematic culture of corruption. "We're moving tonight," Quan said. "Federal warrants, simultaneous arrests, all 12 officers plus Chief Morrison for obstruction of justice." She looked at Elena with something that might have been sympathy. "Your testimony is going to be crucial. Are you ready for what comes next?" "What comes next?" "Press conferences, grand jury testimony. Death threats. Your name and face all over the news. Every cop in America knowing you're the one who brought down an entire squad. Some will call you a hero. Most will call you a traitor. You'll probably never work in law enforcement again." Elena thought about Marcus Chen, still facing charges, his life destroyed by 12 minutes on Sterling Avenue. Thought about how many others there might have been. How many future victims there would be if someone didn't stop this. "I'm ready." The arrests happened at dawn. Elena watched from Quan's office as federal agents moved through the city, pulling officers from their homes in front of their families, reading them their rights, loading them into vehicles. It was surreal. Like watching a movie where the bad guys were people she'd shared meals with, people she'd trusted to watch her back. By noon, all 12 were in custody. By 1 p.m., the press conference was underway. The police chief, flanked by the mayor and the federal prosecutor, announced that 12 officers had been arrested on charges ranging from assault and battery to evidence tampering, civil rights violations, and conspiracy. Officer Elena Vasquez was named as the whistleblower who'd brought the corruption to light. By 2 p.m., her phone was exploding with messages, some supportive, most not. By 3 p.m., someone had posted her home address online with the caption, "Rat lives here." By 4 p.m., she was in a federal safe house, staring at a television screen showing her own face, listening to pundits debate whether she was a hero or a traitor, watching her entire life collapse in real time. The trial took 8 months. 8 months of testimony, of cross-examination, of defense attorneys trying to paint her as a disgruntled officer with an agenda. 8 months of watching the 12, now former officers, sitting in the defendant's box, glaring at her with hatred so palpable it felt like a physical force. The Bodycam footage was the prosecution's centerpiece. Played in court, enhanced, analyzed by experts, broken down frame by frame. The jury watched Thompson plant the drugs, watched the beating, watched Bradley order Elena to turn off her camera, watched 12 officers brutalize a man who'd done nothing but have a broken taillight. The defense tried everything, claimed the footage was edited, claimed Elena had a grudge, claimed Marcus Chen was resisting in ways the camera didn't capture. But the evidence was overwhelming, not just from that one night, but from the 2 weeks Elena had spent wearing a wire, documenting the culture of corruption. In the end, all 12 were convicted. Bradley got 15 years, the others got between 8 and 12, depending on their level of involvement. Chief Morrison was fired but avoided prison by cooperating with federal investigators, revealing that the corruption went back at least a decade. Marcus Chen's charges were dropped. He sued the city for $23 million and settled for 18. Elena testified at his civil trial, apologized to him personally for not doing more to stop what happened. He looked at her for a long time before responding. "You did more than anyone else," he said. "You could have walked away, you didn't." That should have been the end of the story justice served. Bad cops punish system working the way it's supposed to. But Elena learned that there's a cost to doing the right thing. A cost that doesn't show up in news headlines or trial verdicts. She never worked as a police officer again. No department would hire her. The unofficial blacklist was real, and she was at the top of it. She moved 3 times in 2 years because someone kept finding her address and posting it online. She changed her phone number 6 times, lost most of her friends from the force, who saw her as the ultimate betrayal of the thin blue line. But she also got letters, thousands of them, from victims of police brutality who'd never gotten justice, From families who'd lost loved ones to bad cops. From civilians who were grateful that someone had finally stood up and said enough. From a few cops, not many, but a few, who admitted privately that they were glad someone had exposed the rot, even if they could never say so publicly. She started working as a consultant, training officers on ethics and accountability. Started giving talks at police academies about the difference between loyalty and complicity. Started rebuilding a life that looked nothing like the one she'd imagined when she'd first put on the uniform. And sometimes, late at night, she'd pull up that Bodycam footage and watch it again. Not because she enjoyed reliving it, but because she needed to remember. Needed to remind herself why she'd done it. Needed to see Marcus Chen's face pressed against that pavement. Hear her own voice saying, "Stop, he's not resisting." Remember the moment she chose truth over tribalism. The footage that ended 12 careers didn't just destroy them, it broke something in her too. The naive belief that good cops always outnumber bad ones. The faith that the system self-corrects. The confidence that doing the right thing leads to reward rather than punishment. But it also revealed something she hadn't known before. That courage isn't the absence of fear, it's being terrified and acting anyway. That integrity means standing alone when everyone else falls in line. That sometimes one person speaking truth can crack open an entire edifice of lies. 5 years later, on the anniversary of that night on Sterling Avenue, Elena received a package with no return address. Inside was a framed photograph. It showed Marcus Chen on his wedding day, smiling, alive, free, healthy, happy, with a note that read simply, "Thank you for giving me my life back." She hung it on her wall next to her old badge, the one she'd turned in the day after the arrests, the one that had once meant everything and now represented a different kind of service. A harder one, a lonelier one, but maybe, just maybe, a more honest one. Because in the end, the Bodycam footage that ended 12 police careers didn't just capture their crimes. It captured a choice, Elena's choice. The choice between being part of a corrupt system or being the person who exposed it, between loyalty to a badge and loyalty to the oath that badge was supposed to represent. She made her choice that night on Sterling Avenue, and she'd make it again, even knowing the cost, even knowing that doing the right thing would cost her everything she'd worked for. Because some things matter more than careers, more than reputation, more than belonging to the tribe. Truth matters. Justice matters. And sometimes when everything else is stripped away, the only thing that matters is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and recognize the person looking back. Elena Vasquez could do that. The 12 officers sitting in prison cells could not. And that, more than any verdict or sentence, was the real ending to the story that began with a broken taillight and ended with an entire department forced to confront the rot at its core. The footage had ended 12 careers, but it had also started something else. A conversation, a reckoning, a slow, painful process of change. And sometimes that's what justice looks like. Not triumphant or clean or satisfying, but necessary, costly, real, and worth every single consequence.